Hi, my name is Pip Coombs. I'm an author and a physiotherapist. This is my book behind me, The Hunted, which is the first book in the Phoenix series. And I thought today I would talk a little bit about how you can support artists you love. Now, I'm going to start really talking about it from a financial perspective because realistically, if artists don't have financial support, it makes it extremely hard for them to continue to create content or art that you enjoy. So one of the most important aspects of this is understanding how an artist generates their income. So for me, I always think about this one in terms of music. So my whole life, I have not been comfortable doing things like ripping the music from sites like Napster and things like that. I just feel like it took someone a really long time and probably quite a lot of money to create that song that you love. And if you rip it off the internet, if 50% of the people who listen to that song and enjoy that song rip it off the internet, then you're depriving that artist of the reward for their work. You need to understand that when an artist's song, let's say an album sells $1 million worth of product, out of that $1 million comes touring costs, marketing costs, creation of album costs, any recording costs, film clip costs, employee costs. I mean, the number of people with their hand in that $1 million pie is quite extraordinary. And so what the artist is left over with out of that $1 million would be a tiny, minuscule amount. And then they've got people like lawyers, agents, managers and everything taking a piece of that pie, that tiny pie as well. And then if they're a band, then they have to divide that as well. They've got songwriters' fees. Like, I mean, I just don't understand why you would rip the music off the internet. I mean, I know that people have financial struggles. I know that, free stuff, people like free stuff, but it just strikes me as immoral, and I can't get on board with streaming services yet. I don't really understand enough about streaming services, but I just can't work out, and I'm not a maths-based person at all, but I can't work out the maths of how you decide how much an artist is entitled to. If you have someone who's paying a $10 per month subscription fee, and they listen to 1,000 songs in that month, how do you decide how much reimbursement the artist deserves, and how does the company still make a profit without screwing the artist? To me, music is a really interesting place to look at where they get their royalties. So I've got to say, I still buy on iTunes, I still buy albums and individual songs and things like that. I know iTunes is taking a hefty chunk of that, and I know still the artist is getting like a tiny minuscule amount of that money, but at least I feel like I'm legitimately supporting the artist. And if you financially support the artist, they will be able to continue to produce the content that you are enjoying. And the bands I love, I would like them to be able to continue creating music. I would hate to think that they couldn't do it because it was no longer a financially viable occupation, or that would just be awful to think that. So then if you look at the way authors get reimbursed, I remember hearing ages ago that authors on average get $1 to $2 per book sold. And this was back before you could buy paperback books as cheaply as you can now. The cost of printing and technology has affected the price of books, and obviously people want more and more for less. Ebooks have also affected the cost of books and the way people consume that product as well. Before I published The Hunted, I decided to go with Ingram Spark because the research I had done indicated that in the unlikely event that bookstores wanted to purchase your book to sell, for whatever reason, they were much more likely to do it through Ingram Spark. Publishing on Ingram Spark doesn't stop you from being able to make your book available on Amazon. It just kind of has all these avenues from which you can sell your book on. And when you upload your book, it offers you, you can choose whatever price you want to mark your book at. Obviously you have to bare minimum cover their printing costs. And say, for example, you put in your paperback price at $15, it will then take out their chunk, which is printing costs plus realistically a chunk for them, because otherwise why would they do it? And then they will tell you what your royalties should be based on your set price. What they then suggest is that you offer a wholesale discount, and they suggest that you offer it somewhere in the 40 to 55% range. Now that 40 to 55%, that comes out of your pocket, not theirs. And I thought that was more for bookstores and things like that, and I can understand that because, you know, I mean, bookstores have a hard enough time when they're coming up against big companies like Walmart, Kmart, Target, things like that, where they can mass buy their books and get a much better price. And so I had no problem with offering a wholesale discount, thinking that it was so that the bookstores could buy the book and then make some money themselves. And I thought, like, realistically, how many bookstores are going to be buying it? Yeah. But what it turns out is that really that wholesale discount is applied to anyone who, like Amazon, who buys the book through Ingram. So then what Amazon do is they don't publish your paperback as being available for $15. They add a markup so that they make even more, and they bought it cheap in the first place because they got the wholesale discount. Now, when they get the wholesale discount, you're lucky to get like $1 or $2 from your book. And that's at best. And yeah, it's not a great situation. So I'm going to be looking into making the book directly available through Amazon, so there's less middlemen taking chunks out of the pie, because as yet, because of the way that's set up, I don't think I have made anything on any of the paperbacks that have been sold, or it's been so negligible that, you know, it doesn't even register. When you look at the cost of ebooks, that doesn't happen as much. So how much the author takes of an ebook sale depends on the pricing structure a little bit of the ebook. So you get a certain amount if it's up to, I think it's $2, and if you price your ebook below $5 but above $2, you get a certain amount extra, and it goes on from there. So for example, I was having a look at it the other day. If I have my ebook published at $1.99, I get about 80 cents from every sale of that ebook, which at the moment is more than you get from the paperback by the time everybody's taken their chunks and had their wholesale discounts. And you can't price your book that much higher because otherwise no one will buy it, because you're an unknown author. It's not as if you're Stephen King and you can add another $5 to make sure that you actually get something and sell your book for $20. I hope this is making sense. But basically, knowing how that price structure works, knowing how much royalties the artist gets from the work, for me, should determine how you... And my camera cut off. So what I was saying was that as a consumer, it's really important to understand a little bit about how royalties work and how your sale price translates into what the artist actually gets paid. And I make quite a lot of my decisions about how I purchase based on that. So like I said, I'm just not comfortable with a streaming service at this point because I just don't really understand how it's fair for the artist, how it could possibly be fair. So just know that you can actually research a little bit more about that, and you can find ways to support artists more directly. And I personally want to support them as directly as I possibly can. So if I can purchase directly from them as opposed to through a third party or through a larger company, I will do that. The other way you can help artists is to review their work. So you can do reviews on Goodreads, Amazon, you can do it on iTunes, you can do it in a range of different places. You could make a YouTube video where you review a product, a service, a movie, a book, whatever. And And you can like something and you can dislike something, and you can be creative with your feedback. You can give constructive criticism. You don't have to be an asshole if you don't like it. So don't tag the artist in your review if you're slagging it off. Like, that's not nice. You don't need to do that. You can still review the work honestly. If it's not for you for whatever reason, that's fine, say it. And sometimes there are books, for example, that I think well written, well edited, great idea, but it's just turns out not to be the kind of book that I enjoy. And that's fine. So I can still rate it as, you know, whatever I want to rate it as on Goodreads, 2 stars, 3 stars, 4, whatever you want to rate it. You can write did not finish, but you can still say in your review, this is a great book for people who enjoy this sort of literature. It's well edited. It's not that it was littered with typos or something like that, and that's why I didn't enjoy it. It's just not the right book for me. And you can, in doing that, help the artist find the people who will enjoy your type, enjoy their type of work more. So with reviews, sometimes what happens is the book might get recommended, for example, to a lot of people who enjoy sci-fi, and it might also accidentally get recommended to a lot of people who like a completely different type of book. And these type of people will not enjoy it, and so therefore will rate it fairly low. And that might change the algorithm as it goes along, about who finds the book. And so the like, for example, Amazon directs it more towards the people who actually enjoy sci-fi. But if you enjoy sci-fi, it's really important that you reviewed that work so that it balances out the reviews and gives a more fair idea for other people who enjoy sci-fi, and so that Amazon can help direct the book towards people who like sci-fi. Another really great thing you can do to support artists is to follow them on social media platforms. So for example, I have Instagram and Twitter, and you can follow me there. It's @PipCoombs. And it's a really important thing to do because it helps build the author platform, or it helps build the creator platform, which is an extremely helpful thing for artists. That you don't always have to be purchasing their product to be able to help and support them. So you might ask, how does that happen? Well, if you follow them, photos, if it's Instagram or tweets or Facebook posts, then get spread a little bit further. So it helps other people become aware of that artist's work, or the conversation that's happening around their art or around their opinions or whatever. And it's a really important way for people to find out about someone who is potentially just trying to get going, or is making great work but is maybe not getting as much traction as they possibly could. And the other way you can do that is to follow people on YouTube and to subscribe to their channels. So while you might not watch every video, while you might think that subscribing to someone's YouTube channel doesn't really achieve anything, it does. The more subscribers that a channel has, the more likely they are to get advertising support. Now, you might think, I don't actually want to watch ads on the YouTube channels that I subscribe to, and that's totally fair enough. I totally understand. But in the same breath, someone has taken time to put that channel together. Someone has taken time to film and edit those videos that you're enjoying. And if something as simple as hitting the subscribe button can help that channel grow, and they can maybe make a tiny bit of income from ads on their channel, then, you know, it's a really simple way to support the artist. So that being said, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. If you want to support authors, there are lots of different ways you can do it. You can put your hand up to be a beta reader or an ARC reader and provide feedback on the work if you're a beta reader, and help the author create a better book, a better story, a more well-rounded plot, help them identify plot holes. Because sitting alone in a room with your computer, it's hard to always be really objective about your own work. It's hard to see everything clearly, and it's hard to see things where you either haven't laid enough groundwork, haven't linked things together enough, or you've done it too much, because you know what's going to happen as the author. It's all in your head. So being a beta reader is a really important way that you could assist someone who's an author. Being an ARC reader is equally important because your role is to read the work before it is published and provide early reviews to help authors try and make a little bit of traction with their release day, release week, so that the book actually becomes known and other people buy it. So those are some really important ways that you can support authors if you're looking for ways to do so. So just really quickly, there are lots of ways you can support artists. You can be aware of how you spend your money and where your money is distributed. You can do reviews. Make sure you do multiple reviews because there are lots of different sites that people check. It's like for businesses, you can do Google reviews. For books, you've got Goodreads, Amazon, Apple Books, lots of places that you could do it. For music, you've got things like iTunes. You can also talk about it on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can make YouTube videos reviewing things. You could become an ARC reader. You could become a beta reader. There are lots of ways you can support artists, but like, follow, share, subscribe, help them grow their platform. That's one of the really important ways that you can help support the artists that are creating content that you enjoy. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and I hope you'll subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to check me out on Twitter and Instagram @PipCoombs.